Every 3rd of July marks an anniversary. It was back in 1977 where there was a beep, 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 click track as a cart rolled across a polished green hospital corridor floor, and the wobbly wheel was wiggling. And a curtain, privacy curtain, slid open, ball bearings in a steel track, and the doctor peered his head around the corner and he said, "How's he doing, ma'am?" And my mom, her Catholic face, that furrowed brow, that intensity, eyes puffy from sobbing and praying. She said, "I don't know. He hasn't moved. The doctor says I need to prepare you. If your son survives this aneurysm, he will be significantly disabled for the rest of his life. We've given him 89 blood transfusions, and we cannot keep going on like this. His platelet count is dangerously low. We need to remove his spleen, but he will bleed out on the table, so we need to pray for a miracle." Now, the auditory nerve is always open. So those words went into this body. Complicated condition, significantly disabled. That was programming. That was a tape. That was an installation. That was an application on a smartphone that's going to run automatically. And it took 40 years for that prophecy to come true. And he did not know how prophetic his words were in the hidden code in those words, which I've had the privilege to rewrite. So if you're feeling like you're experiencing a challenge in life, I know how you feel. Because for 40 years, I carried this story that said, there's something wrong with me. My body's weak. I can't get things done. My blood type, my blood work, all of these autoimmune challenges, all these ongoing situations and circumstances that have literally brought me to my knees, to the point where the breaking point brought me to the breaking point. My friend, teacher, and mentor brought me my favorite. I'm lying there in my room. He brought me my favorite, chicken pad thai medium spicy. And I told him, I said, "Tim, I know that I tell you and I tell the students, it's like this tape that I run. Every story has a happy ending. If it's not happy, it's not over. But damn it, Tim, I am freaking done. I am done." And my words are not that polite. I think you can fill in the blanks. And he looked at me with his grin and said, he's got one of the kindest men on the planet. He says, "I've got 2 words for you, Christian." I said, "Okay, lay it on me." "Stop it." "Yes, sir." Those words went into this body. And those words planted a seed. And then started the long climb out of a very dark hole. A very dark hole, and it was a long climb up and out. So if you are climbing out of a difficult situation and circumstances, and you're asking yourself, what else do you want from this body? For me, it was systemic lupus, lupus nephritis, lupus vasculitis, cataract surgery, a grand mal seizure, and you want more. But if you're climbing up out of that hole and you're wondering, I've got 2 words for you. And I mean these words with kindness, appreciation, and a belief in you. Stop it. Just do it. So how can I be so confident in saying, stop it, just do it? Because I did. I asked my client yesterday, who just got out of the hospital from yet another surgery, who I'm advocating for, because right now they cannot speak. Asked my client of an hour ago, who I helped prep for a state licensure exam for real estate construction. And that's her ticket out of the hole after 2 failed marriages, a stroke, and financial difficulty, extreme financial difficulty, helping her climb up out of that hole. See, the doctor's words were prophetic. If your son survives this aneurysm, he'll be significantly disabled for the rest of his life. Well, I am significantly, differently abled. And when I sit with these ladies, because I have walked through the fire, I've come out with a heart that understands. And that is the credential, that's the credibility, that's the blessing that gives the status of being differently abled, because, folks, people will feel that. They will pick it up. They'll know that you're telling the absolute truth because you walked through it. And you're living proof, and you have compassion, you have empathy, you have love and kindness in your heart. And you also know that you're going through it. You know what it takes. And you don't settle for anything less than stop it, because I'm not there yet. Instead of what else does this body have to take, how about what else do I get to give? What else do I get to release? What else do I get to surrender? What else do I get to alchemize? What else do I get to experience so that perhaps what I've gone through is going to be somebody else's benefit? What else do I get to do? Right? That's the path I've taken. My name's Raphael. I'm a medical support, clinical hypnotherapist, and for over 13 years, I've worked with clients, helping them transform an old identity into something powerful. I've done over 4,000 private sessions. I'm also an associate instructor at the Hypnotherapy Academy of America here in Albuquerque, as well as a practical skills coach there. And I was actually one of 5 hypnotherapists in the world that was selected to participate as a hypnotherapist in a 4-year, $3 million NIH study that compared hypnotherapy and mind power to drug therapy in the treatment of a condition that affects over 20 million women in the United States of America. And in the long run, after all of the analysis, all of the data had been crunched and all the peer review, it was discovered that hypnotherapy is not inferior to drug therapy in the treatment of urinary urgency and incontinence. And that mind power actually in the long run is a more durable, can be a more durable solution, more durable option. Mind power, mind-body connection. So here's where it all starts. It all starts with learning to calm the mind. So one of the things that I noticed in that study is that those patients that practiced hypnosis regularly, self-hypnosis on a regular basis, they achieve their goals more quickly. It's been validated scientifically. So it all starts with calming the mind, calming that inner babbler. I call it the drunk monkey that's running around throwing rotten bananas at people. Calming that part, and then selectively focusing on the desired outcome, and imagining that and reinforcing that with positive thoughts and ideas. Being positive about what it is that we desire. Now, here's the thing. We've all experienced this. We've all been born into the world. And the majority of us spent 9 months in a warm environment, rent-free, being fed on demand. The soundtrack of our life was our mother's heartbeat. And then after a while, we started to feel pressure. And that pressure intensified, and we got pushed out through a very narrow opening into a bright, cold room, and we were unceremoniously smacked on the butt. And that breath in, like daggers in our lungs. And then we were separated from our source of safety. Our umbilical cord was cut and our life changed. And so it's no wonder whenever we have a sensitizing event or a trauma in our life, we subconsciously go back to that event and we look for how can I plug back into that place that was calm and relaxed, where I get the free rent, fed on demand, life is good. How do we get back there? There's a thought that I want to leave you with before I give you a key. And that thought is, when we are young, we are pre-verbal, and we start to communicate with facial expressions, and they get more intense, and finally they get really intense, and we start to make noise, and we scream. We scream for what it is that we want, and then we learn, that's wired into our nervous system, that in order to get what we want, asking is screaming. We've all experienced that. But I want to flip the ask. In order to ask to get, let's have A be a positive attitude. Let's have S be a self-thought and a self-talk. What am I thinking positively, as opposed to I'm never going to get this subconsciously because they can't hear me? How about a positive self-talk and a self-thought? And how about kindness as a K? Kind to ourselves and kind to other people. When we flip that and we ask to give as opposed to get, when we ask to give, G for gratitude, I for integrity, V for a visceral feeling of love and compassion, because when you've walked through the fire, you come out with a heart that understands. And because you've gone through something that is a challenge, people can feel that on you. When you have that answer, when you have that experience that says, if you do these things, you're going to be victorious. And then the E is empathy. Not sympathy, empathy. It says, yeah, I see you, I recognize you. You ask with a positive mental attitude, self-talk and self-thought that's positive, and kindness towards self. You can give much more to other people. And that can be the foundation of something magnificent. And it all starts, folks, with calming the mind. And that part of the study was scientifically validated. Self-hypnosis calms the mind and opens us up to being able to program positive ideas into our subconscious mind. Rene Descartes said it, I think, therefore I am. What if the I am that I think I am is maladapted? What if the I am that I think I am is not lovable, not good enough, not worthy, because of this original trauma that happened to us? Fed on demand, free rent, boom, here you are, bang, cut off from source. And the stories we tell about that shape our life. Let's flip that. Let's start with a calmness. On August 15th, I'm going to teach you how to calm your mind so that you can ask to give and do something magnificent, even more magnificent than you're already doing. In the comments section, there's a link for a 90-minute workshop, Self-Hypnosis for Identity Reclamation. Go ahead and grab yourself a spot, and we'll see you there on the 15th of August from 3 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Until then, this is Christian Raphael, medical support, clinical hypnotherapist, signing off. Be kind, be well, be a blessing.